Hey, how's it going? Take two. Please look at my signs. That's enough looking at the sign. Signs. So, yeah. I pulled some cards, and I pulled one from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck. This here. Ooh, that's a terrible glare. Get off of there like that. Oh my god. How is that happening? Can you see it? Okay, good. Okay, that's not good. I do not like that angle. I don't like that either. Sorry. Give me a moment. There. So, I pulled... Where did it go? Well, I pulled the number 27 card. Heart Home. Just give me a second here. Heart Home. And I'll just give you a look at it. I was very happy I pulled this because it's just a nice. Now I'm joking. It's just a nice card. The colors are heartwarming, and it is literally butterflies and hearts. There's a heart right there. See? And there's a butterfly, and there's some flowers, I think. It is sincere, though. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make fun. I mean, I guess I do a little bit. I don't know. It's just making me laugh. And then from the, oh my goodness. You have to wait till I decide to start talking to choke me. From the Animal Spirit deck. Well, actually, that's the guidebook. Here's what the deck looks like, or the box, rather. I'm just showing it so you can see the name at the bottom. And they were the dragon card. Come on. Open. This here. And also the... Seriously? There is another one. Here it is. The Crow. And I'm actually in the other video that I tried to start with, I did say that I was glad I pulled this card because I've just been pulling a lot of, like, I don't know, I guess it's not from this particular deck, but I've been getting lots of crow, raven, magpie, blackbird, whatever you call them. I've been getting a lot of those, and you really have been staying away from the kind of negative associations with them, such as like, oh, if you see a crow, somebody's gonna die. Well, I mean, you might as well say that about a pigeon. I just think that I can't, like, it might mean that something dead is around and they came to eat it. I don't know if they're like a banshee, you know? To me, they're not. So, I personally don't have that association with them. Anyway, I pulled it from this deck a number of times, and I guess the struggle I was having with it, maybe I should have gone with those associations. Maybe that was like interfering with my reading of the card, but I don't know. I do different things on different days. And today I'm actually going to read from the guidebook on both of those cards in a minute when I get back to them. Because first, I just want to talk a little bit. And it's, you know, a variation on the theme. I'm always talking about us and how we're faring as an American society, North American society. Basically how we're treating each other. Are we, like, I mean, I knew this was gonna go in this direction, and I kind of feel like I want to say, you know, I'm not, like, doing religion, like, that's not my deal. But I know when I start talking about, like, concepts that religion are a part of, it sounds that way. So, I don't know. I'm still going to talk about it because I feel like it pertains. So, part of what, I guess my new thing is doing what it takes to get past all of this sort of division stuff. And I know people say stuff like that all the time, and I'm not saying that I can come up with one pat answer that's going to be uniformly able to work on everyone, or anyone for that matter. I'm just having some thoughts, but I feel like it is so easy for us to attack each other and find flaws with each other and use it as an excuse to be brutal to each other, you know, in the ways that we harm each other. You know, it can go from hurt feelings all the way to whatever, the end of what you can imagine. But please don't do that. That's kind of the point. Like, let's kind of try to, I would like to see us be able to move the gauge kind of in the other direction a little bit, because that way, I mean, less harm lies that way, more happy lies that way, like more going home and feeling good about doing it, you know. And that should be like, or it could be our focus to take us from sliding into the other end where things are not so nice and happy and it ain't pretty. So, here's where I get uncomfortable. I feel like I know it sounds like fluffy and silly and like, oh my God, that could never work, but it's like, it's really easy for us to find stuff wrong with each other, and there's a lot of reasons we do that, and I'm not going to go all into it because I have no accreditation in anything, so I'm not like a shrink of any kind. I'm just a folk observer, and I feel like we find things wrong with people that are also wrong with ourselves in some way. Like, we see some correlation with that, although it's like actual vision itself. Like, if you've ever seen the mechanics of the way your eyesight works, the shit's actually coming in upside down, and then we see it righted. But I mean, is it right? How do I know it's not right the way it just comes in upside down? Like, we are running it through our filter, so to speak. And so, you know what I mean? Like, that's counterintuitive. It doesn't make sense. Like, it's just as simple as it, you know, it goes in upside down, but it don't look upside down, at least not the way I conceive of upside down looking. And I think the rest of us kind of agree on that, because, I mean, the world is right way up. So, it makes sense in a way to me that you can look at someone that's nothing like you and doesn't even really act like you, but those things about that person will drive you, like, to almost acting like that way that you say you don't like, you know? I mean, I think that's what happens. It's this weird causal loop that we get trapped in. We don't even realize we're doing it. And that's at the unhappy end. Somewhere in the middle, if you can start moving toward the heart home and happiness, maybe your vision gets a little lighter, like the darkness doesn't occlude, you know, what you're seeing, what you're actually seeing. Like, it's not tricking you, it's not making things look strange or scary because of some trick of the light. You know, you are able to see clearer once you get away from the darkness. And so the darkness would be a metaphor for us, like, just, you know, hoisting insults, hurling insults at each other all the time and thinking it's a justified way to be. It really isn't, because, like I said, it's easier to do that. For the projection is just one, like, example of what it could be. I'm pretty sure that a lot of that is actually the problem. But like I said, I'm not a professional anything. It's just my observation. But I think that, you know, even if we say we don't want to do it, it's just like, we can't, like, stay away from it. It's like addictive. Like, I think we think of it as like justifiable anger. Like, maybe we'll get like some kind of wild hair, have like not a great day, and then go looking for that kind of interaction that's not like, it's not that it's kind of fighting each other off. And I think we get addicted to that, and kind of, I think it takes a while before we start to realize that it's hurting us, actually, depending on the person. Because, for God's sake, please don't take this the wrong way, but everybody is at a different rate of consciousness. It doesn't mean that they're lesser or better. Like, maybe you started at a different time, or maybe when you started, you're starting in again at a different place, and you could be ahead of or behind by whatever metric that is. That's like another thing that could be dividing us, is competition. Well, it could be, it does. and it really, like, I have learned, I can't look at other people and be all, I don't have this, I don't look that, I don't, you know, it's like, for one thing, you basically can't, I could make changes, I'm not willing to, I don't want to bat bad, I don't want to do things to myself, really, to alter myself to be somebody else or something else. But I have been there, you know, wasn't able to do it for a number of reasons, and that might have been actually helpful in being able to, like, move away from it becoming obsessive. But, you know, that's what happens when we turn our sight on someone else and fixate on it and start thinking that that difference is some lack in yourself if you don't have it or you're not the same. That's in the darkness, you know? So I feel like you want to move further along the gauge toward the happier, more nice, compassionate end where the heart home is. So I was seeing some things, of course, before I started doing this, and a couple of things, one came to mind, to my notice already a couple of days ago, I guess, is when I first heard that she said this, but, is she a senator or a congressperson? I think she's in Congress. Oh, I don't know, I can't remember. Well, whatever, Green from Georgia, she's a Republican, I'm not keeping track. Sorry, I'm not really keeping track of who's what on the Democrats either, but I find less reasons and less occasions to be talking about them. So, Ms. Green, oh, I guess it was today, has appointed herself one of the social monitors as far as how women should conduct themselves. And it's interesting to me that she points out, or doesn't point out, but it's just part of the spiel that, you know, we're good Christian women, or a good Christian woman wouldn't, like, tempt men, basically. I don't remember verbatim what she said, but basically it was on us, or Christian women. I don't know if I'm one of those approved people or not, but I am a woman, and I guess it's our fault that the men are attracted to us, and that we're sluts because they're attracted to, like, what we want to wear. Like, if we think we look cute because it's short and it's showing our legs off in a way that we think looks good, we don't get to do that, I guess, anymore. We just have to, like, wear, like, a headscarf and, you know, gloves up to our elbows, and dresses down to over our shoes. Like, don't show any skin. Like, you can't be tempting. And it's just like, really? Why do you think anyone wants to revert to that, you, I don't know, person? I don't like being told what I should be doing or not. I have never liked it. I've always bristled at authority telling me what to do. This woman is not, even if I lived in Georgia, she does not have the right to tell me that stuff. That's not her decision. It's not her life. She doesn't have to live. This whole, it's part of some goofy plan, I guess, that the right and the conservatives have that they're going to just remake the nation. So yeah, Christian women, never mind all the rest of them that may not be that. Like myself, I would not put myself in the category that she, you know, put up as, like, the approved person, woman person. I don't know, it's weird. I don't get it. But what I do get is this: there seems to be, like, a directed program or something to, like, make Me Too type situations go away, to, like, criminalize women if men decide to not control themselves and do something untoward or handsy, overly handsy, or just unwanted touch to women, you know, overpowering them. Like, they're trying to make that okay. Okay? It's not. Okay. Okay? Is she gonna have to conform to all of this stuff? I doubt it. And not just because she's a politician on the right, because she was wealthy when she joined the game. She's not just an average citizen, and she doesn't experience a lot of the stuff that a lot of Americans do, and that, well, I guess the House is not really doing much of anything on the right deliberately, so she's just out there making noise, basically. And then she always gets in trouble for shooting off her mouth too much. But I mean, you know, I don't have to watch her. I can turn off the sound, or I can just switch to something else. If I have a problem with her, I'll just turn it off, and then no more problem. But what she's doing, like, inserting herself into this social, you know, network of people, and trying to assert authority, that's a no-go. And so that happened earlier, and then right before I started doing this, I just had to see who the garbage person of the week was on the damage report of the TYT network on YouTube. And there was I actually had seen a header for this very story on a different channel earlier, but I kind of saw where it was going. It was just like, maybe later. So I watched it, and this he's in the South somewhere. I'm not sure where. Maybe Alabama, where they're going completely insane with women's reproductive rights, with like mostly men trying to control us. Don't like it. We don't like it. Most of us, I guess some of us do. Some of us are just going along with this as if it's not going to touch their life. So, what this guy said, he was mid-sermon, and he said that if he were on a jury and some girl got raped and she was wearing shorts at the time, he would not vote guilty on the rapist because it was her fault for wearing shorts and being cute and being attractive. So the headline said women in shorts. Actually, that's not what the headline said. I can't remember it exactly. But what attracted me was like, women in shorts who get raped deserve it. Women in shorts bad. Women bad. So again, I thought we didn't want Shia law here. And they were the ones screaming and yelling about it, the conservatives on the right. So what happened? Why'd you change your mind all of a sudden? And what's going to make you exempt, Ms. Green? You're running around in sleeveless stuff all the time. Your boobies are, by your own metric, basically hanging out too. And you ain't the only one. So what? There's that double standard. There's that tiered law system where she apparently is the top tier. Her and women bad in shorts guy, preacher guy. I would disagree. I think Ms. Green and Mr. Preacher bad. Women not bad. Not all of us are. I mean, there are women that do dress up provocatively. A lot of them are at clubs and they take the clothes off, or they don't start off with much to begin with, or they could be working, you know. It could be that for whatever reason they've ended up as a sex worker. And who do you think those are patronized by? Guilty men just sneaking around that are often politicians and preachers. You think that's gonna stop? I don't. They'll just do it behind closed doors. They'll find some way to get around it, because they always do. Because it's all about control and very little about compassion. Nothing so loving. And there comes the religion again. Here's this guy that, what are you preaching out of? The Bible, I presume. Are you like a Roman? What is your deal, dude? You're like terrible. Where's the love? Where's the unconditional love that Jesus talked about? And I think he wasn't the only one. They always like take it to Jesus like that's the only place. That's not true. It's all throughout the Bible. Like, there's not just the bad lessons, which, is that another form of projection? Why do the conservatives always pull out the worst stuff and then aim it at people and not pick up the easiest thing, actually? Well, I mean, I did say it's easier for us to go after each other, but that's lazy, I think. And I might even go so far as to say weak with this preacher guy, you know? Like, he's not the only one that feels this way. There's been, oh my God, over my adult lifetime, the fusillade of stuff that I've had to hear from prominent people and have to wonder, oh God, is it going to happen this time? Like, it's a little nerve-wracking and irritating. Like, I don't care what you're doing, you weird perv. Get out of everybody else's life. What gives you the right to horn in on everybody else? You know what I want you to do? Leave us alone. How hard is that? So, maybe being loving and compassionate is the more difficult thing. The thing to be more admired if you can stand up and live it. If you can live it and not project your anger, hurt, pain, weird ideas that happened to you that turned you how you are. Like, we all have our stuff. That's not me putting somebody down, although, yeah, I mean, both of them, I think they need help. I think they need to slide over into the loving zone. And, you know, if they're not already if they've forgotten, they need to remember. And if neither of those are true, then they need to get on some. They need to get some in their life. And you know what that takes? Not you telling a whole bunch of other people what to do. It takes you dragging yourself to the place of being receptive and loving and accepting your own self. And you got to do it inside. I generally don't make a blanket statement like that, I hope, about something like that. But in this case, I will say, if we want things to be better, it's hard to give up the easy anger and the easy recriminations, and maybe harder to let yourself be filled with light and love. And who cares what people are going to say if you change from hating people for something or other? Like, that might be hard. That might be harder for you, but once you start with the loving, it gets easier, because the differences and the things that bothered us just start to fall away, because they are unimportant. They are window dressing. They are our costumes, basically. They're part of our role playing. So I'm going to read from the guidebook of the Shaman's Dream Oracle what it says about Heart Home. Heart Home, love in its truest form, compassion. When you begin to feel like you do not belong anywhere, it's time to make your way back to your heart home. This is your true home. You are being called back to the quiet place where your soul resides. Put everything on hold for a short while. You are being offered the experience of love in purest form, in its purest form, unconditional and unbounded. This is not the love you must work hard to earn or barter for. Deep into your heart space, drop into your heart space and rest there for a breath or two. Replace the judgment of yourself and others with compassion. Really, it is that easy when Heart Home shows up. There is no need to forgive anyone for anything. None of it occurred in spiritual truth. Just acting out a series of stuff we all dreamed up together to really vague statement, but clear our karma. It doesn't encompass the whole what karma is at all, but if what I said just there makes you curious, investigate what actually karma is, because it's not what I thought it was my whole life with the whole karma's a bitch state of mind. That was wrong. Moving on. There is no need to forgive anyone or anything. Oh, I read that. It is only your belief in that story that is so powerful that makes it real. That last bit was my own addition. Allow your love to wash clean all those impressions. Empty yourself of all judgment and preconceptions, and allow Spirit to fill you with the sweet nectar of peace. When Heart Home shows up, it is imperative that you heed its call, lest the universe orchestrate a way to bring you back to yourself that is of a harsher nature. Yeah. You don't want that giant godhead coming down and going, thunk! Okay, that didn't feel great. So imagine the spiritual God hand just coming up and going, plook! And now, I will read about the crow from the Animal Spirit deck. The Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck. The icon for this card, for the element, is air. Triangle with the line through the top. The top up-facing spire, whatever. So there you go. There is the crow, and it's, whoopsie, it's interesting that it sometimes I think it's a marble, but it always looks like it has like continents on it. It must be a side, if it's Earth, it's a side of the Earth that I don't live on, because none of it's familiar except for the zones that look like they're heating up, which, I mean, if I was gonna go literal, it's not though, but if I was gonna go literal, like weather map, yeah, it would look like heated up zones, like climate zones or something, or like a world on fire, and a lot of it looked like was green, and a lot of the green timber looking areas maybe got lit, but maybe not by fire. So I don't see that bird hopping up and down or reacting to having hot talons. Like it's maybe just a misinterpretation of like the crow's relation to the world, like how we not constantly, just sort of view them. Like it's like almost anyone you ask like about the nature of a crow, they're gonna say that they're, you know, dark and they're like bad in some way. They are some kind of representation of maybe even evil, but that is not true. It's a bird. Like if it has, like I said, an association with death, it might feed on carrion, but that's not causing, you know, dark stuff to happen. So anyway, crow. Spiritually strong, creative, watchful. Well, definitely I get that vibe. It's watchful. So, like, if it is on fire under its feet, I hope it's a flame of this nature, of warmth and compassion. The crow has long been a symbol of magic. A crow personality is drawn to the supernatural and has a gift for seeing the unseen, knowing the unknown. It is said that the crow holds within its mind's eye the three realities, past, present, and future, as do we. Crow energy is potent and should only be tapped into when the mind is clear. Those with crow tendencies, well, that means you got to get out of that dark edge of the scale and start getting into the more clear area where you can see what's what, and your mind is not swamped by psychoses and drama and all of the sort of lower, darker, and emotions. It is said that the crow holds... Oh, I read that. Crow energy is potent and should only be tapped into when the mind is clear. Those with crow tendencies must balance their lives with a healthy diet, joyful friends, and regular self-study. When in balance, psychic, strong, clear. When out of balance, ungrounded, hypersensitive. To bring into balance, daily meditation practice. So, definitely a different outlook on the crow than I was giving. Or not, like it's not mine in particular. I definitely relate to them as an animal, you know. Not that that makes them like bad or anything, not at all. They're just doing, in my opinion, animals just do life right. We complicate ours and screw it all up with our knowledge and everything like that. We should be paying closer attention to our hearts than our heads, because our heads get us in trouble. Thinking that girls in shorts shouldn't be doing, like, what? No. Sorry, sidetrack. So the other card I pulled was the dragon. And this is one of the cards that come under the category of spirit in this deck. And that's what the circle outlined with the luminescent ring signifies. So interestingly, come back, Crow. The colors of the dragon scales and the colors that the little world that the crow is sitting on are very similar. Isn't that funny? Don't they say that birds are evolved from dragons? And I don't know, I think a dragon is probably pretty close to a dinosaur. I mean, a dinosaur, a dragon. Okay, I'll just put that away later. It doesn't even go in the book. I just wanted to point out how similar those colors were. Okay, I'll just mention it. I don't know. I'll mention it. It is the Chinese Year of the Dragon, right? And I'm hesitant to talk about it because I did not look that up. I'm just mentioning it because it might be meaningful to someone else. It has meaning, I know that. It's gonna make its way to the info box probably. So you get a look-see? Okay. And I will now read from the book about dragon. Seeing one's most true self, balancing the ego. Slide that balance over to the middle where you can see clearer. Not getting that over into that other end very much. We'll get there. The dragon sees everything. Its essence has been with us since before our first breath and will be there at our last. It watches us navigate the external world as well as our inner world. That's like the dragon can see you inside and out. What's up with that? What's up with that? When dragon energy is awakened, we are courageous, visionary, and can easily drop into witness protection program, witness consciousness. That's a tough one for me. I mean, I'm always witnessing stuff, but can I be a silent witness, though? I'm not talking about here, but I'm talking about, like, comment sections and Twitter and Facebook and things. Because the nature of my life, that is kind of my social scene. There's not much real face-to-face going on. Just kind of like what's happening right now. Anyway, why did I start? Oh, witness consciousness. But that is the way to go. I mean, kind of just like there's talking about in this book, like I said, is the dragon like actually inside of us witnessing stuff. That is kind of like witness consciousness, you know, like it's just in there observing. It's not entirely me. It's like this other energy of the dragon, and whether they were real or not in whatever form, like we have like a Komodo dragon, which it kind of conforms to what our mystical dragons look like. But then there's also, I also thought of the Never-Ending Story, which is very loving. And also I know that like Game of Thrones dragons are very prominent, and they're kind of like trained dogs from what I've seen, because I did not watch the show, and I don't think I read those books of George R.R. Martin's. So I would think that dragons, like any other being that you could like align consciously with in some way. Like in a lot of our fiction, people are riding around on dragons, like in Never-Ending Story. But that one wanted people riding on it in a Never-Ending Story. The Game of Thrones ones, I don't know. They could be like trained guard dogs. if you have a dog and you show it love from birth and are nice to it, you have a nice, friendly dog. If you train them to be aggressive and bitey, that's what you're going to have. So, from what I've been able to grasp, that's what happened to those dragons. I don't, like I said, I didn't watch the show or read the book, so I don't know if they were dragons of a particularly aggressive nature on their own. But I think in mythology about them, and it's from all over the world, but they, I believe, are collectively known to be wise and long-lived. So, you know, lizards live a long time, and I think dragons are lizards, right? So that's where, like, the wisdom comes in, and the witnessing. They may have evolved from, like, Game of Thrones dragons all the way to starting to see, like, oh, there's a whole other way to be, and it doesn't involve dragging all of that sort of aggression around with you in offensive mode behavior. And they can, I guess, also show great love, because they learned over much time, if the mythology is real and there actually still are dragons, big flying lizards, somewhere where we just can't see them, like extra dimensionally or something like that. I can't say no, because I haven't not seen it. You know, wait, that doesn't make sense, but I don't want to say they absolutely don't exist, because I don't know what I don't know there. And that might be a consciousness thing too, you know? Like, sensitivities require different levels of consciousness. And when I say sensitivities, that extends all the way into abilities, like of the psychic sensitivities and that. So that is a progression, from what I understand. You start from like a lump of clay that doesn't remember anything, and maybe you like go through the dark ages of your own life for a while, and you start to move that gauge over, and maybe that is dragon wisdom, dragon energy. Sorry, I totally digressed. Let me get back in here. It is almost as if we are traveling with a great friend inside of ourselves. When we look in the mirror, deep into our eyes, we may even glimpse the self behind the self, the one who is watching us. And that makes me think of our higher self, which is just us. I keep hearing this over and over from my various sources. And that's evolved. It was a much more sort of separate, something like that pervert on Family Guy, the old man that always was after Chris. Sorry, I whistled. I don't know if you heard it. I just went off all into that. Come back. Oh, come on, brain. Don't leave me. Something I was going to say got triggered by, when we look in the mirror, deep into our eyes, we may even glimpse the self behind the self, the one who is watching us. Oh, right, the higher self. So it evolved from, I mean, it sounded to me like it evolved. Maybe it didn't. I probably evolved. But it started out sounding like the higher self was almost an angel and, like, sort of separate from, or, you know, more removed from my reality than I now understand that to be. And so, I've even learned recently from a couple of different sources. It's funny that I guess that just happens, like, people start talking about the same thing, like, different people that have no link except for me start talking about the same stuff. Ow, and then ow, come on, now, shoulder. So, the higher self. Now they're saying what sounds like it's actually just you. Like, the more conscious you become, the more aligned with that higher self that you become. And I take that to be a raising, I was going to say a raising of consciousness, and maybe that's part of it, but also just once you move out of like the dark ages, you start to be more welcome to the idea of wisdom and listening to like your higher self. Like, you start to be able to, like, I'm going to say, unclench control and accept that there's stuff you don't know, and your higher self has been there all along, not indulging in the dark ages with you, but always kind of staying in the clear area so they could actually learn stuff and pick up useful information, because after a while, just like a pig pen ball of arguing and fighting is useless to everybody. It's like, there's no one any good. And so, I'll continue. There's more about the dragon. The one who is watching us, the higher self dragon, this is the power of the dragon, breathing transformative fire into every cell of our bodies, witnessing this omnipotent energy, even for a brief moment, helps us surrender and let go. We let the dragon guide us. We hop on its back. Sorry. For a ride. And as we traverse even the most difficult terrain, the dragon's eyes see beauty everywhere. It is said that if a yogi does not see beauty in the world, their Agni is dim. Agni is described as inner fire or sacred intelligence. Maybe even just the mention of the dragon stir the embers of intelligence within you. That Agni comment was interesting because it kind of made me think of the preacher. He doesn't, the yogi, so that would be like a preacher sort of equivalent in the Western world. If the yogi does not see beauty in the world, then their Agni is dim, and that is like their ability to see consciously, it sounds like. And it sounds like, rather than accepting that a woman's exposed body, I mean, it doesn't sound like he's going after like hookers. It sounds like he's just going after like teenagers or something, or young women. And like I said, when you're young and you feel good and you feel nice, then you want to, I'm going to say, you want to put your body out there, but not out there for the picking, out there because maybe you've been locked up in pants all winter, or, maybe you're just ease of movement, like to let some air in on your body. Whatever it is, it's like the over concern of this guy to the point where he wants to like punish people for just doing everyday stuff. That's not just dim Agni. That's like, it's ill. It's like all the way in the dark ages. And wow, that guy has quite the challenge ahead of him. Like, good for you for making such an example for the rest of us to actually witness, seeing, like, putting into stark relief, like, this is like a horrible way to be to the people that are such a total part of your world, like, constantly trying to make us apart and different and less. And it's like, we women, like men, are a part of the world, and whatever identity in between, also part of the world, not to be denied, not to be ignored, not to be shamed, not to be violenced upon. Like, that is not gonna get you anywhere near the heart home, and that's where you want to be. So I also pulled, how am I doing on time here? Ooh, not great. Well, I was gonna go, I'll just do it. I went two ways with these tarot cards that I pulled from my, stop falling over. I need to do better with these decks. My Light Seekers tarot cards. Oh, it's just, come on. There. So, I actually had a little scenario that I read before I pulled out the books, and I'm just gonna quick go through it before I do what the book said, just for the contrast. So here's this guy. He's got some feathers, and he's for some reason out in this blinding moonlight, and this crow is not happy. It stole the feather from the bird, the messenger, so it's it's stolen intelligence. But that's the actual meaning that the book says about this card. So one time I was watching Linda G, the Comanche psychic. She does cards and she's a psychic. She has a channel on YouTube, Linda G, the Comanche psychic. And she was talking one day about how she wanted a feather, I guess, for her altar or whatever you call your little area where you put your special stuff. And she got a feather the next day, I guess, but she also learned that because she got that feather, a bird lost it, and I guess the bird had some sort of injury come to it, or suffered some form of harm because it was lacking this feather that she is almost completely turned on psychically, as far as her senses. So I think that she got it from spirit, that it was a lesson for her to ask for something that is somebody else's, that they need for their life. And that's what it made her feel bad, and she's I'll never do that again. And if you find one, that's one thing, but it just really struck me that if you ask for one and spirit actually gives it to you, you could be taken away from someone else. And that reminds me, I'm gonna get all sidetracked here, but that reminds me of Cryon and the Parking Angel story. And it's kind of a funny story about a driver in a crowded lot needing to park and praying to the parking angel. And Cryon said that, yes, you can pray to the parking angel and you will likely get your spot, but just remember, somebody else is not going to get that spot. So, isn't that interesting? Even if we're praying, we can just totally horn in on something else. I guess that's what free will is about. But this bird is what reminded me of the Linda G story, because look how pissed off that bird is, and look how many feathers there are. How many birds did he ground? So what I saw when I just looked at it without consulting the guidebook was this guy knows, like a paparazzi. He knows that something is happening, got all the word from the people, that would tell him, and is running off to, I don't know, the publisher, I guess, or to tell someone. This card, I do need to grab the book about. Oh, that's back here. So, why did I go to Pentacles? I want Wands. No, that's Swords. That's not what I wanted at all. Sorry, it's taking a little bit longer than I intended. I thought I dog-eared all the pages. Oh, I guess I didn't do that one. Oh wait, maybe I did. Nope, that's not it. I can't believe it. Somehow I did not do that one. In the Four of Wands. Okay, sorry that I'm taking so long. The heck did the wands go? It's taking longer than I wanted to take. There we go. So, it says, Four of Wands. It's time to celebrate with your closest acquaintances. It's a good time to pause from the hard and relax. So, that kind of almost aligns with what I thought. Like, there's a celebration going on, like maybe a wedding or something, but whatever it is, people are like, woohoo, we're real happy that we get to have this big party. And that's what I thought the secret intelligence was. And so, Temperance was the next card that I pulled. And I just saw the dog ear for that one. But that's not it. You're in the wrong section, brainy. Nope. There we go. So, Temperance. Temperance shows an angelic figure, not on my cards. I will show you what the book has. Temperance shows an angelic figure, neither male nor female. The angel has 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on the ground, showing us that we need to stay active, but remain grounded and practical. While one might have an extravagant imagination with many ideas, it is important to have a purpose and transfer our imagination into reality. Okay, that last bit had a lot. So there is what the card talked about. The angel and what did it have over its shoulder? I guess nothing. Oh, that's a different card. So, stay grounded. Basically, keep your cool or don't lose your cool. And literally, like grounding something electric, you have like, you don't put like one end in water and one end in the dirt, but you do have a thing in electrical, like, wiring, where one wire is hooked up with one part of it to power and one part is hooked up to nothing, and that is grounding. Like, it'll be hooked up to something, but it doesn't have power running through it, and that creates a balance. And then when I was looking at it in terms of the secret message about the party, I was thinking of the kindly, understanding neighbor who perhaps joins for a while and then goes ahead and leaves and is not like a wiener about it being too long, taking too long, or being too loud. And then I pulled the Lover's card, and that's what that looks like in this deck. And it's interesting because in the other deck it talks about, like in the regular or the Rider-Waite tarot, it talks about, oh, hold on, I'm looking in the wrong place again. The lovers obviously represent love, attraction, and relationships. The man and woman are symbolic of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. They are overseen by an angel, blessing them and reminding them of heavenly influence. So, if we're going to talk Adam and Eve, we're going to talk about temptation, but that would be on the dark end of the scale, like all of the sort of self-indulgent, because you didn't listen to better reason and advice. You know, this is where you find yourself, and sure, you're in the garden of pleasure, but you're kicked out of the Garden of Eden, you know? You're kicked out of, well, they were on punishment, and that was like really harsh. That's kind of like unforgiving, and that's not like, that's very conditional love, put it that way. So they're overseen by an angel, blessing them and reminding them of heavenly influence. Behind them are 2 trees of temptation with a serpent perched in the tree behind the woman. The serpent and trees are symbolic of temptation. So here's what that looks like. And it's a more typical depiction of a tarot, the regular tarot, than this. This is more about, I mean, I guess passionate honeymoon after the party. But it doesn't have like any, it's like all, they're all like into passion, and that's like, it's not healthy. I think you have to have this as well, because you can't always be getting it on all the time. Like, life happens, and you know, part of the deal, part of the arrangement between the lovers is that you're a team. I don't know why that's not depicted on here, but that was the choice, I guess. And then was the 2 of Pentacles. Juggling, balancing. I don't even have to look at the book for this one. Keeping your equilibrium, basically. So, interesting that this was surrounded by temperance and juggling red-hot passion with maybe a wider tone, clearer thinking to balance you out there. She's getting kind of fancier. The passion's out of control. Like I would say is kind of what's happening here. And then finally, I had the Ace of Swords. And what the book says is, the ace signifies a breakthrough or new way of thinking. It is a great time to start a new project. This small depiction of this card, but there's what it looks like. So the greens at the top of the sword there, sort of wreathy looking stuff, signifies renewal, regrowth. So that's your start of a new project. And also, so is a wedding. So that all works out. All the spinning wheels, I want to say, going on in this head, like, almost overwhelmed by the ideas, but it's dark, so it could be this person like winding down for the evening, and once they fall asleep, because I mean, really, she got a super long neck. That's that actually seems kind of irregular, but anyway, she could just as easily be lying on her side on a brown surface, falling asleep, and there's the light of spirit entering her mind, and oh wow. she's got a stairway to heaven right there. But for inspiration and communing with spirit, or whoever you come across on the astral plane, your own people, some beings that we are in our conscious lives on the side of the screen just not even aware of. So that kind of tells me that, like, we got a little secret message that things could be sliding more in this direction than I had been talking about earlier, and that makes me happy again. Yay! Because really, it doesn't have to be love and marriage. We have partnerships all the time that are not, you know, sex partner relationships. We have work relationships. We have friendships. We have brief stranger engagements. Phone call with a whomever you got to talk to on the phone. You know, someplace where you got to hold for a long time. Like, whatever, you know, company that you're paying for a service, like cable or something. I recently, and it didn't end up like, it didn't come out as positively as I would have liked, but my experience with Comcast or Xfinity lately, or recently I should say, it just like went downhill fast because well, our partnership was certainly not what I thought it was. I thought 20 years of paying the bill in a timely fashion every month and their so-called top tier diamond customer status was worth something, but it turned out it was not. But you know, that just goes to show, be careful of partnerships. Do exact some caution. Don't be too quick to jump into stuff, you know, without finding out what you need to know to protect yourself. The safest partnership, though, that you could have is with yourself. And if you spend a lot of time in meditative thought, as it seemed to point that this dragon energy is meditative thought and consideration. I mean, I feel like most people, not all, will eventually want to move out of the dark ages and into the light, into the enlightenment, actually. And part of that enlightenment is love, basically. And who is the stronger person? The one that can hurl insults, or the one that can stand in the face of hurled insults and say, you know what? I'm not going to condemn you for what you're doing. In fact, I'm going to applaud you, because if not you, it would have been somebody else. Somebody's got to perform that side of the balance. Someone's got to be the other half in your partnership. If it's not a love partnership, it's maybe a soul family partnership. And if it doesn't go happy and light and great, it's not a total loss. Things do happen for a reason. One of those kind of crazy, annoying things that I used to hear as a Catholic school child: God does things for a reason, for mysterious reasons. And I think I see it through a different prism than the people that I was hearing it from then did. I don't know that for sure, but it's hard to move out of the dark ages where you will condemn someone for a frivolous reason like race. But that's like their challenge to go through, and everyone that's affected by them becomes part of the challenge. Hi, affectee, but that's okay. Learn from it. I mean, that happened a long time ago, so I've had a long time to think about it and not reshape events, but reshape my understanding of events. And I guess my bottom line here is that as part of our role in like the whole Matrix play thing, we act out, but then also consciousness comes in it too. Like, we could maybe be in the dark ages for generations or lifetimes, because for whatever reason, that's where we need to be. But eventually, everyone is going to gradually shift into the light and the enlightenment. We all have to go through some dark periods. It's not the same. Dark doesn't look the same for all people, you know. Not all people who get dark go into the dark ages. They might just go into the dim age for a moment. It's part of life. It's not something to blame anyone for. And someone like the preacher man with women bad, we just have to, and when I say we, I mean me. I mean, I can talk about it all I want, and I'm not imploring anyone else to do anything. I mean, I'm just kind of figuring things out on my own here for myself, but if anyone gets anything out of it, awesome. I mean, anything useful. I mean, you know, if you just want to laugh too, that's good. I also like that idea, but I think we learn to employ a little bit of temperance in our daily lives over time, and I think that moves along the whole shebang more and more, because everyone is going through it, and not at the same time for the last time, but everyone's gonna get there at their own rate, and that's okay. The best we can do for, there I go again, other people is be supportive in their effort to do it. And that means, I think, like, if they, no if, because that's a condition, isn't it? I feel like love and appreciate everybody for whatever you get from them, because it's all going into the gift basket, basically. Thank you and good night.